leaning into the community and each other, and um, just how we approach that with one another, right? Is I think it's we complement those industries. We complement each other very well. Man, let me tell you, folks, back on the Jeff Robertson Show, it's been a minute, and I'm excited because I've got someone on today, Mark Andrews. He's a firefighter, paramedic, company officer who leads where pressure is real and mistakes matter. His approach to leadership was shaped by his experience with poor leadership early in his career and deciding to do it differently. Now, through his work, and he's got a brand new book, Leading Through the Heat. So make sure you pick that up, folks. Mark focuses on building trust, leading with presence, and helping others make the transition from doing the job to leading the people who do it. I'm a technician and I'm a practitioner of all the things that I just said there. I've been the knucklehead on the very, very opposite side of this, Mark, and I needed the Marks in my life, and I'd underappreciated the Marks in my life for so many years. So I feel like a grown up coming in here and sitting down with you today to learn, because let me tell you this, and I wanted to tee you up with this, is I'm a product of a lot of leadership successes, but man, I tell you what, I'm also an example of some leadership failures along the way as well. And I'm excited to meet you. I'm excited to learn more about you, man. But tell me real quick, and I just wanted to get you in here, is walk me through your background, but then tee us off on where that poor leadership started to come out there. Man, thanks for being here, brother.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm just going to just repeat what you just said because that's a really good point. I think we're all products of good bosses and bad bosses throughout
Yeah.
our lives. I think everybody in their career, if they truly wanted to concentrate on it, could find those examples. And what I wanted to do with the book and through all of meeting people in these podcasts is have these discussions about uh, what are ways we can be better ourselves so we could leave our workplaces in a better place for the new generation that's coming up, rather than be bitter and angry and resentful anytime something didn't go right. And it was before I was in the fire service, worked in some industries, and was always shocked when I'd have a good manager who cared or knew what I was doing, who would give me support, would ask me to do something and follow up on it. And then I would have bosses who didn't understand what my job was, didn't understand the operation of the company, got promoted because the supervisor pay was very low and nobody else wanted the job. They got the job because they knew somebody. Whatever the circumstances were, then all of a sudden I have to get these bad bosses that are asking me to do things that just don't logistically make any sense. And it's as if they didn't even understand what industry we work in. And so I found myself constantly getting pulled towards the bosses who actually learned the job and cared. And I found myself keeping this mental inventory of poor leadership. And so when I got into my last year of firefighting, I just started compiling these thoughts down, thinking, well, maybe I could write a nice magazine article. And then I noticed and I said, wow, I wonder if I got something here. So I just kind of knuckled down and put it together. And before I knew it, I had a few chapters. And so it was like you said, you just, everybody's got these experiences. And they all shape us. But it's, are you going to let it shape you for a positive, or are you going to let it make you bitter?
Yeah. No, that's you're spot on with that. And the other thing I think that we see in the fire service that we'll see if it holds true where you're at, is sometimes folks don't want to get promoted. I just don't want to get promoted. I don't want to be a company man. Turns out they want to be, but they like fitting in with their crew or their shift, and they don't want to seem like they're trying to get ahead, that they want to um, they don't want to be labeled with that. And I saw a quote. I'll send it to you. And it was something, I say this all the time, like, hey, if you don't work on getting promoted yourself, you're going to end up working with someone who has less skills, less experience, and way less than you in age. And I see that happen sometimes especially in public safety, firefighting, police work, is that person's like, I don't want to get promoted, and they get passed over. And next thing you know, they're a senior in their career and working for someone who's younger with less experience, and it creates a little bit of negative friction. And I had saw a quote where Plato from back in the day had said something along those lines. And basically, like, if you don't become, the leader that you need to be, you will be served by someone who has less to offer than you. But where do you, like, as you're, do you feel like, I needed good people to come along and help show me, that leadership potential of being a young guy. Of fire department folks, is an absolute great place to help me get around the right people a lot of times, to be able to find the people that can pull that out. But where was you born with kind of that? Did you go through Boy Scouts? Like, did you have that leadership potential your whole life, or did you have to discover that along the way?
I absolutely discovered it along the way. I
Yeah.
never saw myself as the, I guess, the person leading a charge in a high stakes environment when I was working jobs before the fire service, when I worked in a private ambulance field, or when I got on the fire department. It was really a couple years into being on a full-time career fire department that I saw the work the lieutenants and the captains did. And that's where it looked like a really fun job. I get to lead a crew on a fire engine or a ladder truck. I get to run a station the way I see fit. I get to mold the young men and women that are coming on the job, and I could help mold and leave a department in a better place when it's my turn to retire. And so
Yeah.
they were that definitely never occurred to me until I had a couple years in, and then I started noticing, oh wow, this scene went horribly. What was this boss thinking? Then I'll have this, wow, this scene went great. Good thing this boss was here. And so it was through those experiences that I developed this desire to be a company officer.
You hit what I was going to ask you, because I have some of the best examples of leaders, but I've also been around people who gave me examples of what I didn't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it
Yep.
happens, y'all. Just so you know, and when you're looking at that, I teach I get to coach kids, and I absolutely love that. And I'll tell them sometimes is when I'll point out something, I'll go, today you learned what I may have not been able to show you what you need to be, but I hopefully I showed you what I don't want you to be. Or today's a great example of what I don't want you to be. And I think you and I lean into that sometimes, because, like you said, and folks, just for just to bring this into the conversation, sometimes on active fire scenes, it's not a leadership failure; it's circumstantial. It's when you say a scene went crazy, it's because a scene went crazy. It's down, down power lines will absolutely train wreck a fire scene, or mitigating the whatever. So sometimes it's not a scene looks chaotic is because of the elements that is there. But there's also times where just some folks are not made for that moment. The other part I was going to tell you real quick is what I had read. I looked it up for you. Is from Plato, spoken by Socrates. The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself. That's what I had read, something like that last night. Reading about you, learning more about you,
Yeah.
and that post popped up for me. So I was like, "Ah, it's really
Yeah.
good timing."
And here we are 4,000 years later, and we're still
Yeah,
uh, taking inspiration from those words. And you're right. When you're a first responder, it's not about the scene going perfectly. If things were going well, they would have never called us in the first place. So
yeah,
it's how you adapt and overcome. And yeah, and that's another sign of the good leadership is not, are you personally handling the adaptation? It's, did you build the team before, weeks before, months before, build the team where they can now change their tactics if their tactics are not working? Can they
yeah,
formulate a new strategy? Uh, if they're separate from you, are they going to be adaptable based on
yeah.
their training? So, yeah, that leadership makes a difference, because yeah, very rarely did the scenes go completely as planned. Sometimes they do, but a lot of the times you're going to throw a monkey wrench in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the way you put that is with what we got to do, you train and then you execute. You should not need to be told what to do. There's some times when you have to pause and get some direction or make a calculated decision, but most decisions are made, very decentralized, and they're made with the best interest of, I made this decision at the moment. And I was trying to explain that to someone the other day. As I said, nobody care. What you get graded on sometimes is your ability to make a decision, not the fact that you made a bad or good one. Just make one and keep making them till you get it right. And then I think the other thing that where I really enjoy, Mark, putting it out there is decisions in life or death. They are, once you've had to make those decisions and you have been a part of a life and death decision, is it makes other decisions super easy, right? Just ain't nobody dying here, right? What we're getting ready to buy this copier, right? Okay, well, nobody's dying here, so let's. I think it gives us a different perspective. I had to learn to approach that with a way more respect than I was giving it, because I was just brushing over simple decisions, and for the staff it was a big deal. For other people, those simple decisions, and I was like, this is not life or death. Y'all need to figure it out. I was stepping on more toes. So remembering that as well, folks, as you move out of fire service, as you move out of public safety, is those decisions are still just as big in their world as life or death in our world.
Yeah, and in promoting the book, I've had a chance to do a lot of business podcasts, and they appreciate so much the message that you and I are talking about right now, and that is building a team up, leading by example, but building a team that's qualified enough to where you could decentralize that command. And if you got to make a decision on a scene, then I could say, hey, you go do this. But 80% of the time, we just arrive, I give a size up on the radio, and the team just goes, because they know the strategy. I'm not going to tell them how to do their job. And they, for the most part, know what's expected of them. And people in business say that is a struggle in a lot of corporate America. You get a lot of middle managers that want to micromanage, that want to tell you how to do every aspect of your job. And so they seem appreciative of us in law enforcement and the fire service and in EMS, to where we welcome a community where I could just say go, and that's it.
You'll see that. I have worked for a lot of really good people, and I worked for a couple micromanaging bosses. And when you find a career-minded boss that is looking to promote up, they become, some of the folks, when I did my task force time, I worked for one gentleman in particular. He was just very career-minded, and he would rather he graded us on different stats. Like he would his whole thing was, I ran an office problem free for 2 years. We still were able to put up X, Y, or Z stats, and we managed he didn't have to deal with any shootings, all the negatives that comes with being aggressive. He didn't have to do with it. He just had a different approach. But so when you see sometimes of declining arrests or numbers that are going up in some areas, sometimes that's a career-minded leader that is just choking everybody down to a stop point because they don't want to deal with the risk of any black eyes. I've ran into that as well.
Yeah, that managing by avoiding getting into trouble is just paralyzing as a first responder, and probably in any corporate environment as well. You can't make decisions with fire behavior, the spread of a fire, somebody's breathing difficulty, somebody's cardiac arrhythmia. I can't make decisions in that moment and first think about, will my boss be mad at me? I've got to put the patient's best interest at heart when I make a decision. And if the decision doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. we'll come back in. We're going to train. We'll tabletop some stuff. We'll review the state EMS protocols. We'll review some arrhythmia stuff. And if it turns out this was just a complicated case and things didn't work out, not a problem. We're going to train on and get better. If it turns out a real mistake was made, that's no big deal. We expect you to make some mistakes because that's how you learn. We don't want things to go perfectly for your life. We want you to grow and build and get better each time. And so if they're making decisions based on getting in trouble, it just slows down the patient care and is not good for the citizens. And so, yeah, you've got to be able to just trust your training and trust your skill. And it doesn't mean that you won't be held accountable, but it doesn't mean that we're going to bring the hammer down every time there's a minor mistake. We expect them. We want them to be learning experiences. So that creating that environment where people feel empowered to be able to make decisions has got to come from you as the boss and your boss at the top. That's got to come from the top down. If
Yeah.
you're in a company or in a fire department or police department that's suspending people, writing people up all the time, that's just paralyzing to the operation.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. The other thing I think when it leans into life or death is in law enforcement. In my time there was I would use hey, you can't put the bullets back in the gun. Like you just there's some decisions you want to you got to be able to justify it, right? So you can't, and that carried over sometimes when I was helping people understand how to when they got to like you got to have a risk meter. And business is how much are you willing to let go that you can cover money wise. Like that's just a comfort zone. I probably got to the point in business that when a W-2 I had was I probably had about $100,000 worth of just experience, right? To where I felt like I could make $100,000 decision. But that started with me making $500 decisions and then 1,000 and then 10,000. Like I had a rule where if it was over $10,000, I go sit down and talk with the owner. And that's how I learned to be able to move my just same thing with carrying that gun in law enforcement or having that paddle or whatever it might be in on the truck side of things. But was how you look at those risks. The one thing I wanted to ask you too, to just get your perspective on this was when you've got firefighter or paramedic or police officer, right? And we move them from the technician role into leadership. What is the hardest part about going from doing the work to actually leading the people that are doing the work from your side?
For me, it was knowing when to step back and just
Yeah.
supervise. That was the biggest mistake I made the first couple months I was a lieutenant. Because I loved being a team player. I loved physically doing the job. Plus, I wanted the young guys on the job to know that I'm going to be the kind of boss that when this is a critical run, you could trust me. I could jump in. I know my EMS skills. I know my firefighting skills. I know my car extrication skills. And you could trust me. So I wanted to demonstrate that trust by constantly doing stuff. And then I realized, man, I'm really being in the way here. I got to back this up. And I started sensing that I'm getting on their nerves a little bit. And so I learned to step back and watch and supervise and just watch. And then I would watch. And if they needed some guidance, I'm there. If I want to throw out an idea over patient assessment, that's totally fine. But 99% of the time, we would just IVO2 monitor, do some patient assessments, maybe a quick treatment, and I would just supervise. And then they would just say, "All right, I think the patient's stable. We got this, Cap." And then we would just leave, and that would be great. And I would follow up in an hour when the ambulance gets back. Hey, how's our guy doing? And then they would give me a follow up, and they would see that I'm still monitoring things, but I'm trusting with verifying. And I had to kind of learn that balance to where when it's the critical run, all right, everybody's jumping in. I got this, you got that. But when it's the regular, everyday, more mundane run, I could step back and watch them. I don't need to do it. It's their time to do it and to learn those skills.
If you're not careful, you'll I agree with you on that. That's tough. Like when you go, one of the thing you'll see this. Were you still on the job, or did you retire, or where are you at now?
Just retired.
Still retired. So the more business conversations you'll have, and I'm curious to see if this happens to you, is now when I'm coaching business or I'm working teaching leadership over there, is I can generally, like, I can tell by the conversation if the person is a doer or likes to be told what to do. It's just, it. I came up in a volunteer system. Some volunteers are like, hey, would you have to tell me what you need me to do and I will go have it ready. And then some folks where they get out of the way, Jeff, I can do this myself. And I'll see that in as I'm trying to develop. And a lot of times in business, it might be not a younger, it's younger in experience, but your older seasoned veteran who they're trying to work into a leadership spot, who's spent his whole life or her whole life doing, and they have a hard time letting go of that. They have a hard time. What is some tips or tricks that you used as that person like yourself? You jumped down there, and there's a point in time when you said, "I can't. If I why am I the leader if I'm doing all y'all's job?" Um, but do you have like a tip or trick or just any kind of advice for that person who struggles with letting go of being the doer or technician role?
For me, it involved training at the station. And this is what's
Ah,
different about the fire service and the military versus being a municipal police officer. And I don't know how in the world municipal cops do it, because you got to have a training week every couple of months or a training day every couple of months. And then for months and months and months, you just go in your car by yourself, do your job. And then if there's a big run, a whole bunch of cars are going to show up, and then you might follow your road sergeant around, following orders and working as a team. But then 80% of your job is just you and your car. Whereas in the fire service, we don't do anything alone. It's always as a team. Two people on a basic ambulance or on a paramedic ambulance doing routine calls. Add a 3-person fire truck to that if it's a serious medical run. Add a 3-person ladder truck to that if it's a big car accident. Add a couple of fire trucks to that if it's a house fire. And so we're always working as a team. And then between the 911 calls, we're physically in the fire station together, and we have these training opportunities. And it could be hands-on training with the JAWS. It could be raising ladders. It could be watching YouTube or Instagram videos of fires and tabletopping strategy and tactics. And so we've got all these training opportunities. So for me, making sure your training was good and thorough without browbeating them to death, because it is a busy job. We're doing 20 calls a day, sometimes 25 on a busy day. And so we're not in the building all the time. But if your training is good and worthwhile, you've got to trust that training. Now, when you get to that fire, I could just say, hey, we got to get a hole in the roof, guys. And then they'll know what ladder to grab, what tools to bring, chainsaw or K-12 saw. They'll know what side to put the ladder on because they could read the smoke themselves. They'll know where to cut the hole based on the fire conditions. And I don't have to tell them anything. I just say, go. And then they got it. Whereas I've seen some incident commanders physically tug of war with the ladder with the junior guy. It's the wrong ladder. I want the other ladder. Who gives a frick? There's flames blowing out of the house. Everybody's yelling. Neighbors are screaming. And you're playing tug of war with a ladder with a 23-year-old kid. What are you doing? And so, yeah, you're right. You got to let go. And if they make the wrong decision, in private, in the station, deal with it. You don't need to yell at people in the middle of a street.
All right, so you're taking me where I want to go. One of the things that I tell people that we're good at, we don't mind. I had to really soften this up, Mark. When I went into business, was I had to soften it up in the stance of I was used to saying, Mark, go do this, or you just doing it, and and it's not, and I'm like, why I don't have to tell Mark to do this. Why am I having to tell this Mark to do this? I had to soften up my because we are a culture of feedback inside of public safety, and we do it without. Sometimes it's very direct, and it's get it done in that situation where you're trying to or you're just trying to overcome an obstacle on a scene or in an incident.
For
How
me, it was
culture of
like they
feedback.
just say in the management
How
textbooks, you got to have that
what is
open
a
door
good
policy.
balance when we're
You've got to be
trying to
approachable
create culture
to
of
your
feedback? Can
members,
you,
and
even
that
in the
doesn't mean they
fire
got to bring
service,
every
even in
little
that
thing to
business
you.
world, what's that
We
look
do
like
want
for
there to
you?
be a chain of command, but I can't have them hesitant to come and find me. So for me, laying the groundwork
Yeah,
of that is
yeah,
being present around the station. I can't just go hang out in my office with my cozy recliner and TV with a full cable package and let them do everything and then never check up on them, because they're going to never see me being involved in stuff. And they'll eventually start to doubt that I either have the talent for it or that I
yeah,
even care. So if I'm getting involved in projects and finding that middle ground, hey, I'm going to get involved in this training because this is training that's important for everybody. Or, hey, this training is a little repetitive. We've done the skill a few times and it's more geared towards
yeah,
our rookie. I'm going to delegate this to the crew, and then this way they get to be seen as the trainer for this rookie, and this rookie now trusts them, and then they are happy to have received my trust in them to lead this project, and I don't have to be there. So once I find that middle ground, I could then just trust but verify and stay on top of things. So now they always know, no matter what's going on, I do care about the outcomes. And so if they
yeah,
have a problem on a run, they could say, hey, Lieutenant, hey, Cap, we had this problem with the run. This one nurse was upset at this treatment we did, or this family was mad at the hospital destination we chose, or we did this treatment and I did this instead, but the protocol says this, but the patient's condition was that. So I documented it as great as I can. And then I could just say, great, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to forward the right emails to the right people, and we're going to get ahead of this. And I got your back. And so for me, that trust came that way, being approachable and letting them know that if there is a problem, I will have their back. And a step further, I will never let them take the blame. The boss is mad. The boss is going to
yeah,
yell at me, and then I'll talk with them later. I'll never let them get yelled at by the chief.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got it. Going to take it.
I've had to do this before.
Yep.
I've had to look at directs in a business world and
Yep.
say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, the boss is going to yell at you, but I'm going to sit with you. We're going to take it together. Like I've had to have
Yes.
that where, like,
Of
yeah,
course.
we're like, hey, you're getting rode up. You know, I've done all I've insulated. I've
Mm-hmm.
done, but here's the because there's some
Yep.
things documenting process. If you got to offboard somebody, you got to have good documentation. I go, we're going. I said, the one thing that I'm not going to do is let you go get your butt chewed without me.
Absolutely.
And then I would coach him up on just if I look at you, stop talking. If I give you
Yeah.
what I just don't
Yes,
paint us
exactly.
into
Because
a too bad of a corner. But
yeah, I was going to
I
say,
absolutely
I
love
bet your
doing that
crews
as I got
appreciated that,
older. And I had
because
people do.
I
Man, I
see
can't
this in
tell
the
you the number of
corporate
people that
world
tells me why I
all the
got my
time.
butt chewed when I was a young guy. Man, it was there were some good times. It's a great approach, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, we're great friends. Like the kids I've worked with. Yeah, just it's just taking ownership and teaching them to take ownership. Man, you screwed up. Let's go. We're going to own it together. Don't you ain't getting fired, right? Just we gotta go. We're gonna go own our mess. And I teach I get to coach athletes a little bit, and I bring in a lot of the experiences that I have. And one of the biggest experience I try to pass along to them is just take ownership of your
Absolutely.
shortcomings. Take ownership of your crap. Of when you fall short, own it. If you say something dumb, the
Mm-hmm.
coach gets mad. Own it
Mm-hmm.
quick. You know, hey, I'm a kid, coach, trying to grow up. Thanks for not, so I preach on that. Tell me, as we wrap, dude, and I want us to do this again because I told you I felt like we was going to scratch the surface today. Walk me through the book. Talk about the book, Leading Through the Heat. And we'll make sure it's back.
I actually
That we
wrote
link to
it
that in our show
for
notes.
all
But
types of
who's that for?
workplaces. I
And
was
then
hoping that this
kind of
would
tell me
be the type of
why
book
you
that would
wrote it, who it's
cross
for, and then
boundaries of just being a first
why
responder.
everybody
And
needs
that's
to go
what's
and get a
been nice
copy of
through
that.
the podcasting. Lots of people in the business scene are interested in these messages. So and now I haven't sold a ton of them, but I have garnered some interest from people that aren't in police or fire. And that's what's been nice, because that's the audience I was hoping for. I wanted this to not be just something that I say that I did. Hey, I wrote a book. I wanted to really actually make a difference in the discussion of leading people, so we could all make these workplaces better. There's no reason that people have to be micromanaged or browbeaten anymore. We've got a real diverse work population. I've got in the fire service, we used to just always get almost the same type of person that would go take a paramedic class in a fire academy and do it. And now we're getting adults that are changing careers in their 30s to go back to school. We're getting young kids that were computer geeks when they were younger, and just are really super sharp with that, but never worked in the labor sector before. So we're getting a diverse array of applicants now, and leading them, you can't use those old 60s and 70s techniques of just browbeating them, because there's nowhere else they're going to go for a job. They could all leave tomorrow and they'll find a job tomorrow. There's fire departments hiring all over the place. And so we've got to make these workplaces better. And that was my goal with the book was, how can you care? How can you be empathetic? How can you listen to people? How can you still do that and hold people accountable? Like you said, sit there in the office with them. And if they made a mistake, then they got to own it. But I'm going to be here and absorb it with them. And so, yeah, it's a way to build the trust with the crew and make teams better, and then make the work better for the public. So I've been very happy I've been able to have these discussions with people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dude, and it's like you'll hear me say, I've said this a couple times in just in this episode. Is once you deal with life or death, is it any of the other decisions? So when you go into those spaces of business, I was a franchise
Yep,
gym.
I will leave you with the Amazon and the Barnes and Noble link. It's in paperback.
We had
and
Navy
ebook.
SEALs come in. We
And
had
hopefully I'll have a
folks
hardcover
that
out
have
soon.
absolutely been
still
set
working with
back
the
in
publisher on
life
that.
just to talk
And
about,
then,
because it goes into
Amazon, Barnes
just
and
the
Noble.
leadership and how we lead
They're available
ourselves
on
as
both
well.
them.
So that's really good. How can people buy that book, Mark? What's the easiest place for them to go? You got a link you can leave us with? Yep, I got that. Yeah. Yep. Good.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. So the Amazon link is one I got from Mark. It'll be bookmarked in the, or it'll be in the show notes, folks. And then if you get lost or what have you, if you're listening to this, if you'll just comment book, I'll make sure that I get it.
Absolutely.
I'll get that out to you. Get the link that you need. If you're, I'm excited, man. I hope you and I feel like we scratched the surface, and I want us to come back, and where I want you to be thinking is, if you're like me, you've got 3 or 4 pivotal moments that you're like, all right, these are the couple of the stories that I really like talking about. I've got a couple other police officers that come on that had some hot stuff, and it's like those are some pivotal moments in their development of just dealing with other people's stuff that lead into their lives, and it fell into their lap that particular day. One of the guys that I podcast with a little bit, he was the incident commander when one of our local news reporters was killed on live. They were filming live, and then the killer streamed it on Instagram live. And it's the first that was documented in the world of a live stream thing. So he was the incident commander that day. So he's got that story that he's tied to. And same thing
I'm
for
looking
you,
forward to it.
I'd really
like
to come back.
These
So I think that helps
about
for folks like
about
you and I, it
leadership
helps
have
make
been
a
enlightening
connection
for me as
between a
well. So
moment
I swear
and
I get
then
something out of this
people
every
like to
time.
hear the stories of what we got to experience and how we overcame it, and how we helped others as well. So be thinking about that, Mark. I absolutely feel like it's an opportunity for you and I to reconnect in the next couple of weeks, dude. Yeah. Podmatch, doing just podcasting and working through. I did about 100 episodes, just as hard as I could to really meet as many people, and it is a fun space to operate in. You get to meet folks all over, and then it helps you along the way, which you get dialing in your messaging and everything as well. But folks, make sure you check out the show notes for Mark's books. Share this episode. You got a fireman friend or whatever, someone, especially someone who's new, that young man or woman who's coming into the business, and that they're trying to figure out their way, and looking for different influences that's going to help mold their clay inside of their career. This is where the opportunity, that old seasoned vet, yeah, it's there. It can. There's
It was a
always some
pleasure.
takeaways. I think we found it, but for that entry level person who's like Jeff Robertson was at a point in time in his life that just needed more people to pour into him, this is someone who's kind of walked in a different, in a different facility, different department, different things, that has all sorts of different experiences that help us develop as leaders. So, Mark, thank you for being with us today on the Jeff Robertson Show.
Welcome to the Jeff Robertson Show.